Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's, January career interview, which we're sort of casually calling Career in a Beer because it's kind of a little more fun than a career interview. But I'm joined today. I'm so excited to have this interview. We've got Dr. Amanda Amaratunga here, who's joining us. Amanda has become a pretty close friend, actually, just in the past few months. And she's going to be talking to us about her career, which has really spanned a bunch of different paths, and I can't wait to share it with you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and where you might have gone in your career?
Sure. Should I start with today, like present day? Or
okay. Yeah, sounds good. We can do present day and work backwards.
All right, good. I am a mom of two little boys. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I'm kind of in the thick of things with parenting and also parenting during the pandemic. So that's really exciting times right now. And I am also a veterinarian for the federal government. I work for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and I'm a senior staff veterinarian in our policy and programs branch. So basically, I'm a disease control veterinarian. Let me see, what else? I am also a fitness and habits coach. I have a business, it's called Fitness Integrated. And I basically empower overloaded women like Melanie and myself to take better care of their health. So women who want to get stronger, more toned, learn some better nutritional habits, and really just be confident in those decisions as they're able to fit self-care into their life. So that's kind of me in a nutshell today. Did you want to start in the beginning?
Why don't you take us all the way back, like take us back to vet school and then towards the present day.
Okay.
What happened in between to get you onto this amazing place?
All right. So I come from a long line of public servants. Before I went to vet school, I knew that I wanted to have a career in the public service, but I wasn't 100% sure where. I also knew that I wanted to spend some time in practice because that was really important to me. I know regardless of where our career takes us as veterinarians, the skills that we learn in practice are a really important skill set, and they can definitely be applied no matter what sort of position we have, even if it is out of clinical practice. So that was just really, really important to me. And before I started at OVC, so I went to Guelph, I took on a bunch of different summer positions in various departments of the provincial government, and I also worked for CRA, so Canadian Canada Revenue Agency, federal government, and not related to vet medicine at all. So I kind of got a taste of what it could be like to work in government. And as I was going through vet school, kind of continued to sort of explore other options. So I didn't really work in clinics too much. I had a part-time job during vet school at a clinic. And I would say one of the biggest game changers for me as a student was a management internship I did at a cheese production facility in Buffalo, New York.
Really?
It was a European-owned company. Sorry?
That's just interesting.
Did you see something, Millie? Yeah, no, it was super interesting. And it was actually a really pivotal internship, I would say, in my career. I was really lucky to be part of this company's summer internship program at their cheese production facility. I was part of the management team. And my two big roles were one, to develop a set of standard operating procedures for their lab, at an in-house lab. And the second role was to prepare the plant for audits. So it was really interesting because I was sort of on the other side of the fence as a regulated party. And, I got to prepare the plant for audits and learn about things from that aspect, but I also got a chance to meet other inspectors. So I got to meet a lot of the USDA inspectors that would come through the plant and other third-party auditors. And, a lot of the inspectors are veterinarians. So as a vet student, that was really exciting for me and just a really, really great positive experience that I was able to bring forward. I graduated from OVC in 2003. It was a long time ago now. And I spent about 5 years in clinical practice, small animal practice. The last year of that, I did mostly emerge work. And as I was preparing to transition out of practice, I had applied for a government pool for a VM3 position. And at that time, that particular competition took quite a long time. It was about 3 years long from start to finish. And so while I was in that process, I started to take a look at what some of my other options were to transition out of practice. And I got this really great position with formerly called Novartis Animal Health as a pharmacovigilance veterinarian. And that was a really also just a really important position for me in my career. Um, I basically worked on the back end of the company, so I didn't work on the forward-facing sales side. And it was my job to answer any questions on any of our products, or large or small animal products, and also investigate any suspect adverse events. And so in doing that, I got to use my skills as a veterinarian, having just left clinical practice, getting to chat and help other veterinarians troubleshoot and work through their cases. But I also got a chance to report to the government. So our company, the products that I supported were both pharmaceuticals and vaccines. And so I would report to the VDD, the Veterinary Drugs Directorate, and also a Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So again, it was kind of a really interesting experience for me because I got to be on the other side of the fence as a regulated party, but still interact with our colleagues in the government, or report to them anyway. So it was just it was a really great experience for me. As far as learning and transitioning out of practice, I was in that position for about a year before they finally called me out of the pool. And that was in about 2009 that I started with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency here in Ottawa.
So you had applied and put your name in for the CFIA pool, and then it took about a year before someone picked your application out and said, "Oh, I think we might want to have you in for an interview."
Yeah, like I'd actually, the entire process was 3 years,
Wow.
but I'm not sure what sort of the last part was. It is in about 3 stages. But yeah, it was quite a long time. There were a lot of months I never thought I would hear back from them, but that's just the way in which the government works.
Yeah.
Sometimes the wheels of
Mysterious
government,
ways.
yeah, they turn very slowly sometimes. Um, so yeah, sometimes things happen, things are working in the background and they sort of happen when we're least expecting them. And really the timing for me was pretty great.
Nice. So Amanda, so it sounds like in vet school, you kind of had an idea that you might not want to be in practice for a really long time. Like that might not have been your plan all along. Is
Right.
that fair to say? Or did you think I'm going to be in practice for a long time?
No, I knew I wasn't going to be in practice for a long time for two reasons. One, I knew that I wouldn't be happy as an associate long term. And also, I also knew I didn't want to own a clinic,
Mm.
practice ownership. At the time, clinics, small animal clinics, were still largely privately owned.
Mhm.
Um, and that just wasn't really the type of work-life balance that was for me. So I knew that it was an important experience for me, but that my time would be limited. And I just tried to sort of keep my mind open to whatever opportunities came my way.
Cool. And then, so tell me about that. We get a lot of questions about how do I transition out of practice into industry. So can you tell me
Mhm.
any tips or tricks that you might have picked up or that you might know of or how that process worked for you?
So the biggest piece of advice I can give everyone is to really use your contacts. So, the veterinary world really isn't as big as we think. It's not even really like a 6 degrees of separation kind of thing, right? It's quite a bit smaller. So my advice is really to, you may have a classmate or you may have someone, like Melanie, who is connected to other people who work in more non-traditional fields, to just reach out and have a conversation with someone and put what you would like out there, even if you're not 100% sure. You don't have to have it all figured out. But if you're looking at moving in a different direction, to reach out to other people, and tell as many people as you can, because you never know who might have a connection that could be a game changer for you.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah, and you don't have to have a perfect pitch, but it's good to have an idea of like, here's what I kind of want, and here's why I think industry might be a good fit for me. Yeah, that's really good advice. And then, so I know you're from Northern Ontario, right? And then did you practice in at what point did you guys move to Ottawa?
So when I practice generally in Southern and Eastern Ontario. So my first job was in Kingston, and then the rest of my practice career was Toronto area. I was in Alliston, just north of Toronto, and then the office at Novartis Animal Health was in Mississauga. So not too long of a commute from where I lived in Alliston, and then I moved to Ottawa.
Cool. And so then tell me a little bit about the process of, you mentioned it was a really kind of a long process to get into the federal government. So can you tell us a little bit about the nooks and crannies and things that people might want to know about that?
Well, I'm not sure. I would imagine the process has probably changed a bit since I applied. Uh, and so that may not be the most current source of information on this, because I do think there are probably more direct avenues available to us and government for staffing, to be able to advertise positions. But when I was applying, there are internal pools of jobs and then there are external pools. And so I remember that I had signed up on some sort of a listserv that would notify me whenever there were positions. And I was, as an external candidate, available that I could apply to. So I applied for this pool. I think it was a fair amount of time before I even heard just from that initial step. And then typically, there's a flurry of activity and then nothing for a period of time. And then, I would hear something, and then, another step would happen.
Gotcha. So it's just being a bit patient with the process. I've heard that it's quite a bit faster now because I think
Yes,
maybe
I
there's
think
different
so.
processes involved from people who were recently hired. I think it was a bit faster, but yeah, that piece about patience is probably really still true. I betcha for any job. I've got a question here from someone. So, what made you decide to pursue a job in government versus another non-traditional option? Was it because you had contacts in the field,
Yeah,
or did you consider other things?
yeah, I definitely considered other things. By that point, having worked in industry and learned a little bit more about government, I definitely wanted to try it out and see if it would be a good fit for me. By then, I'd done a fair bit of technical writing and I'd had some audit experience, which is well suited to some of the work that we do in the government, especially our agency, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which is a regulatory agency. So I did want to give it a try and see if it was for me.
Nice. And so, Amanda, as far as, when people are considering the federal government, oftentimes they're sort of wondering, oh, is it just, I don't want to really, I'm not sure that I want to do meat inspection. Is that all that's there? So, I know you mentioned a little bit of the things that you do, but can you tell us some of the impact that you would have had on animal health and welfare?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if I could backtrack a moment,
Mhm.
did just want to mention, I think part of the reason why my competition may have been a bit longer too is that it wasn't necessarily an entry level position with my background. And so I do think like I went into the government as a VM3, um, because I did have some amount of policy background. But I do know to enter as a VM1 in our district offices, that can be a more direct route. And so no one get discouraged. It probably won't take you 3 years as it took me, because I do think that they have been able to streamline some of the hiring process. But I did want to mention that as a route to get in, applying for one of the more entry level positions is a really good strategy.
Nice.
And we always need great people. We always need really great people in the field.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so what other things did you consider when you were looking at career shifts into the government? If there were other options or things, like why did you decide specifically for government?
Uh, well, I believe it's been a long time now. I do believe when I looked at the poster for the pool or the job that I applied to, I don't remember at the time, that it was well suited to my skill set. And
Okay.
so that was important to me, but also work-life balance. I'm a person who likes to really be active, and I knew that I plan to have a family someday. And that was really important to me, especially having grown up in a long line of public servants. That was probably really part of my set of core values, to have uh, really great work-life balance and time to be able to prioritize family as well.
Yeah, I think that's, you bring up a really good point about knowing your values before you start jumping into a job, because oftentimes you can just end up in the same kind of position if you don't think of what you want your life to be and how you want to design it. Um, Thank you for that. I think that's a really good point. Um, Sarah has a question here. I know several specialists, colleagues in the US, that have moved and been sponsored to work in Canada. Do you know if this option exists for Canadian government or industry jobs?
I don't know. I had the opposite experience when I worked in the States. So the company sponsored that I work for sponsored me on a work visa. But I have to say, I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
I'm trying to
I
think,
know.
Melanie. Maybe we could figure out who we can ask, but I'm
Yeah,
not.
you know what? I think I know who we could ask. So, Sarah, we'll find an answer to your question and we'll post it in the group, because there are actually several amazing managers who are from the CFIA who are in our group. So
Great.
we'll post it, and I bet you we'll have to flush them out.
Yeah.
um, so the other part that I do know is that, of course, it's called something different now, but it was NAFTA up until last year. So you can easily cross back and forth with a TN visa, a TN1 or a TN3 for a 3-year visa. So it isn't a matter of even being sponsored. You just have to find a position and have it. I know this from working in the US, and then you come back, as Amanda mentioned, you just come back and you go back and forth. You just have to renew it, and then you're basically a free agent to come back and forth. If you change jobs, you have to have another job secured, or you have to go home. Okay, we've got lots of people watching. Any questions from the audience before I dive into all of my questions for Amanda? So I'm going to just wait a second. So if anybody has any questions, pop them in the chat and we will. Oh, we've got somebody from Chico, California, Kansas, Edmonton. So we've got all sorts of all around North America watching you, Amanda.
Great. Thanks for
Oh,
tuning in, guys.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Can you go back to the question about the impact of the policy that you're working on? So
That's right.
what impact do you have in the work that you do?
Thanks for reminding me, mommy brain. I got sidetracked there. Um, so sorry. What was the question? What is the impact I feel of the work
Yeah,
that I have?
so oftentimes when people are looking at a job in the government, they're not sure what impact that would have, because it's very easy when you're in clinical practice to be like, okay, I fixed this animal, that task is done. So it is, but then when you're looking at a job in government, what does that actually mean for, what's the satisfying and wonderful part about what you do, basically?
Great. So if I could draw a parallel, I think I mentioned that it's really a transferable skill set that we pick up in practice that we can use in other areas of our career. And one of the great things about the work that I do is that, as veterinarians, we all love animals and we love to help animals, but we need to be really great with people. And we need to be pretty great at being able to communicate with people in order to help animals. And one of the great things, the things I really appreciate the most about my role and the work that we do in our agency and also in our directorate, is that we're able to really impact a large number of people and animals in Canada. And so it's sort of like what we did in practice, but on a much larger scale. And every career and every position has its own challenges, and in government we have a lot of layers, and it can be a very long process, but as we navigate through the various stages of the process and we are able to get to the end point and update our policies or bring a new policy into force, that's going to improve the health of animals, it can have a huge impact, because we're able to really impact millions of animals um, in the work that we do. So it's really rewarding.
That's cool. Yeah, and I think, that's something that I had never considered when I was in practice. And then when I left practice, I was like, oh, right. You can like really make a huge difference in a way that you could never make that kind of difference on a one-to-one, because you could never see that many dogs and cats, maybe throughout your entire career. Um, so I wonder, Amanda, I want to get into you starting your own business and how that came about and balancing that with your regular job. But what I wanted to ask you is, when you look at your job in the government, what do you think, like, what are some of the most exciting things or interesting things that you think you've been involved with?
Well, there have been so many. I've worked on different files that have been related to each other we're in 2021, so almost 11 years now, or 12 years, wasn't it? 11 years that I've been there. And I had to sort of, what's the question again, Melanie?
It's kind of the most exciting things you've been part
The
of.
most exciting things. Um, I would say really getting a chance to, well, a couple things. One, getting a chance to get out there to stakeholder meetings and meet our stakeholders, and get a chance to interact with them and see them and hear their stories firsthand. It's really nice. I feel like it makes the work that we do, which a lot of it is remote. I mean, a lot of us are working remotely now, but just getting a chance to meet our stakeholders, not just external stakeholders, even members of our team within CFIA. When we get a chance to go to a meeting or conference or any sort of a chance to and interface with everyone has been really great. Are the recipients of the work that we do.
Nice. Cool. And can you share, I don't know if you're allowed to share any files that you might have worked on, or particular like outbreaks or interesting things that you might have been policy pieces that you might have been involved with.
Um, well, one of the files, so for a number of years, I worked on chronic wasting disease, which is a transmissible spongiform encephalopathy. It's related to BSE. I currently work on scrapie and small ruminants, which is a related file. And so, that work has been really interesting. I would say probably one of the most exciting files I worked on for a period of time was looking at developing a disease response program cooperatively with stakeholders in the bee industry for small hive beetle, which is a pest of bees.
For
Probably
bees, yeah.
aware. Yeah. So that was really exciting. It was exciting for me as a veterinarian because I really didn't know very much about apiculture in general or bees. To get to learn about that and to get to interface with some really great people. That was really kind of an exciting thing for me in my career.
So I think one of the important things that I hear from that and from some of the other stuff that you've told me is that it's still very much like you still get to interact with people. You still get to, you still get to solve problems. You still get to work on moving things forward, just in a totally different way.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. I'd love that. Okay. I'm just checking for questions and see if there's any. So I don't see any. Make sure you get your questions in if you have any. I want to dive in now to kind of your business. So what drove you to decide to start a business, and what, tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. There were probably a couple of things. One, I had sort of gone through a hard period in my life, probably my late 20s, maybe. And I've always been a runner. And running sort of got me through that. I decided, crazily enough, that that would be the time I run my first marathon. And so, it kind of really, I spent a lot of time training over that year. And just the really great relationships I developed with people, and just my love for fitness and exercise kind of just spurred the thought that I want to spend more time doing this because it feels really good. And alongside that, as I started to sort of get into more of my work in the government, I've probably been in the government about 3 years at that point. I was starting to finally get the hang of working in government, which takes some time. It can take, at least a year, sometimes even 2 years to really get fully into the thick of things, because it's such a really such a complex organization and setup. And one of the things that, for me personally, in my role, in any of us who work for the government, when we do this important work, we of course exercise our professional judgment, but we're not representing ourselves as individuals. We're representing the government of Canada, in my case, my department. And all of the decisions that we make are in the best interests of the people and animals and economy and environment of Canada. And so, I work as a veterinarian, obviously exercising my judgment and have a lot of input into things. But I wasn't really representing myself. And so I felt like that a part of that was missing for me, that I wanted to be able to just be myself and in some part of my life, and be able to help people one-on-one on a very personal level, that uh, that I could share another part of my life that was really important to me, which is my passion for fitness and coaching.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of how it started.
That's neat. And so tell us about, so you were a runner, and you enjoyed fitness. And then, so there's a bit of so bridge the gap for me about how you got to be this like business mogul with an amazing business,
I
in
don't know about
between, in between,
that.
tell me the in-betweeny bit.
Sure. So, as I don't know if there's some runners in the group. I see Leah here. So, some runners are sort of notorious for, you know, running a lot, but not necessarily having as strong of a core or working on our glutes or other aspects. And I really wanted to um, build a stronger body as I was training for my race. So I learned a fair bit about strength training, more than I had in the past. And seemed really fascinating to me. So I thought I would get my personal training certification. And I worked as a trainer. I have always had my own shops. I work part-time training people out of the gym. So I'm in their homes or offices. So finding out of gym fitness solutions for people, because generally my clients weren't people that felt the gym was a good fit for them. And so uh, in working with my clients, one of the things I noticed, many of them were women. Many of them are of my vintage now, um, and we're sort of in the 40 to 55 year age group. And what we found is when they were with me, they would really get fantastic results as a personal trainer. So at this time, I wasn't doing the fitness and habits and nutrition coaching. And when they went off on their own, when they struck a difficult period in their life, I found that they didn't have the tools to be able to deal with that when they stopped exercising. And I realized that, especially as we get older, our bodies change. We have a lot more responsibilities in our life. Our lifestyle becomes really, really, really important, and that our fitness or our exercise and our lifestyle and our nutrition really need to work together, whatever our goals are. And so I realized that was kind of a missing piece for my clients, and I wanted to be able to do better to help them. And so I sort of gradually, over time, through continuing education and getting various certifications, just worked on getting there.
Nice. And you have like, so I'm part of Amanda's coaching program. So I signed up during like probably the craziest fall of my entire life. It was nutty, but and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But then I thought, you know what, if I can do it now, then I can do it just about any time. And the name of it was actually very enticing, because I was like, oh, okay, I think maybe I'll be among my own kind here. Of like it was the get Tone game plan for overworked women. I
Yes,
thought that was very good.
those are my people.
Yeah. And so, but the thing that I loved was being, kind of learning about habits and things like that. And being, realizing that it takes, it's just kind of putting one foot in front of the other, just like anything, it seems logical, but when you're talking about this area of your health, it doesn't always go logically.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So Amanda, so talk to me about like having did you find were you worried about starting your own business, or were you thinking, or was it just like a really natural, like, oh yeah, it's no big deal? And have there been any bumps along the way, or?
Well, my two children were sort of a bump along the way. So I took some amount of time off during my mat leaves. But I would say initially, I have so busy with the rest of my life in my 30s. Uh, I really had it as something in the side of my life. I would train a couple of clients at a time. I would make programs. So it was really quite manageable. And I was able to learn a lot about business at my own pace. And so that was quite comfortable. And just learning about things like, being able to focus, I was able to just focus on client relationships and getting people the great results that they want by taking on fewer people and being able to give them more attention.
Mhm.
And I feel like that was a really great transition for me into learning how to run a business because there's no pressure, right? And then I did take some amount of time off for the better part of 3 years. I'm an older parent, so I had my two children very close together. They're 20 months apart. And so I wasn't able to help a lot of clients, and clients were calling me for either themselves or referrals during that time. And I realized that something was really missing. I don't know how many moms there are watching this, but for me anyway, I sort of experienced a little bit of an existential crisis after I had my kids, because here's this person I used to be, and here I was with a 2-year-old, like a 2-year-old and a baby, and that's pretty intense. And once I got sort of past the most intense period of it, I started to feel like I need to sort of get back to somewhere in the middle, where I'm not only mommy and obviously the parts of me from my old life that were really important were still there and needing to be fulfilled. So I needed to find a way in my life as a mom and having my veterinary career to be able to take my business forward. And that's when I started to look at moving my business online, because it wasn't feasible for me to to drive to people's. This is and so. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. It's okay.
So I had started to look into this very slowly, and then COVID happened last year, and I was sort of finishing up with my last crop of in-person clients that I'd moved online to finish up their year with me. And I decided that I was going to close enrollment for one-on-one clients for a period of time so that I could actually move my business online. Especially with COVID, I didn't feel I had the bandwidth to do both at the same time. And so I got a particular certification from the Online Trainer Academy, where they teach us how to take what we do in person and build a strong business that serves clients well in the online space, because that was really important to me. Relationships are really important to me. And so, one of my concerns was, how am I going to get my clients these great results and feel like I can support them in the online space? And so I learned so much, and I just feel really grateful, not only for that course, but the great coaches that I've gotten out of that, and the great teammates that I built in my own team that helps support my business. So it's just been a really positive experience. And one of the things I learned in this training is that clients actually do better online in groups of their peers. And I think we're really seeing that, Melanie, in this first cohort ladies that are going through the Get to Home game plan. One of the things I'm the most proud of is just the really great support and accountability everyone in a group provides each other. So it's just been really great so far.
Yeah, it has been really good. So I guess I'm going to open it up for questions here and see if anybody has any questions to add in. I love all parts of that story. Just I love that you're using your brain in completely different ways to fill out your whole life. Because I do think we get into challenges when we expect one part of our life to fill up everything and make us happy with. And I don't know if you agree with that, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
so if you have a question, feel free to either unmute yourself or type it into the chat, or just pop it in if you're watching on Facebook. Put it into the comments, and we'll be happy to answer them.
I just wanted to say too. Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say too that I guess one of the biggest lessons I learned during my mat leave, and especially when I was kind of in the thick of things, is that happiness is really an inside job. That um, we have our families and our partners and our careers, but at the end of the day, we have to really be honest with ourselves about what makes us happy and how we can make ourselves happy. And that was just a really important piece for me, that I realized that having this business makes me really happy.
That's good. That's good. I'm just going to check my DMs. Sometimes there's thumbs in here. Okay, and so where can people find you? Oh, wait a minute, there is a question. Hold on. Speaking towards happiness, how do you manage work-life balance with a government job and a business and kids? do you not view your business as work?
Well, this is a bit of a complex question. I mean, right now things are really tough. I'll be honest with you, because I'm I'm a very honest person, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This last month, with the lockdown we have here in Ontario and homeschooling, it's been really tough for me, because I don't feel like there is any balance. Because it's just, I think at this point also in the pandemic, we're all very tired. But I mean, I have taken steps to address that, which I can talk about in a minute. But yeah, I mean, I was really lucky in the sense that we have really great daycare and great school for our children, that I feel just 100% support. I have my own coach that helps me with my business, and also my own personal coach for fitness. And so they really help me balance things, because they're people who are further along the journey than I am. And I think it's really important for all of us to have people who are further along the journey than we are. And so they are people who help me balance things as my business grows. And I talked to my own coach just this week, when I was saying, like, things are feeling like they're just a little too much right now. And so she gave me some really great strategies and offered to help ease the burden a little bit. So there's that. There's, of course, the flexibility that I have at work, working for the government, as far as flexible work hours. Most of the work I do for my business is early in the morning and after work and on weekends. But honestly, it just brings me so much energy to be able to help my clients and my friends and the women in my network, that it really doesn't feel like work. Um, the hardest piece for me is constantly getting help to try to better figure out my time management, what sorts of things I can automate, delegate, become more efficient at, drop. And so for me, it's kind of all about figuring that stuff out. And as my business grows and my children grow, and the pandemic is sort of putting a wrench in things in ways that we can't anticipate, just having people to lean on and to help me figure that out has just been, it's really saved. It's saved my bacon.
Awesome. Hey, we've got a couple more questions here.
This is a PG broadcast, so I will say that. Totally saved my
I'm not above a little swearing. It's okay.
bacon.
But it is going to go on our website, so maybe we'll keep it PG. Okay, knowing it takes a long time for applications for government and industry, how do you stay positive in a job you aren't happy or satisfied in while waiting for a better job to come up?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all been there, right? That can be a really tough one. I think I can sort of share my experience only because there's definitely more than one right answer to this question. But I think it's always to try to focus on the things that you want, and to try to focus on the things that bring you joy, and focus on the things that uh, are working for you. Um, because I think that what we focus on expands. And so it can be really easy, especially in these times, to focus on the things that aren't working. But that doesn't put us on the path or push us in the direction that we want to go. And so whether that's finding personal fulfillment or focusing on our relationships with people that support us or are moving in the direction that we want to go, like I was mentioning, if you reach out to contacts that may be able to help you, like that is sort of, those are the types of positive steps you can do, because you never know, you may end up having a positive conversation that could really be a game changer for you. So just keep focusing on the things that you want instead of the things that are not working.
Nice. That's a really good piece of advice, Amanda. Because I think that is something where a lot of people are like, I just feel stuck in my career. And we get messages about that all the time. But it's a long way for me. It's a long way until I'm done my degree. I don't even know what degree I'm going to do. I don't have a job in sight, or there's none in my area, those kind of things. So I think those are really good pieces of advice. We got another question here. Who do you look for, and how did you find a coach for your business?
Um, so I did two types of business coaching. One had more to do with online marketing, because I do have a follow along program that's independent of my group coaching. It's called the 15-minute body evolution. And so I joined this program for small business that taught me a lot about online marketing and having programs in an online space, and basically about human psychology and learning learning more about people. And so I got some great coaching through that program. And then there's a certification I did to move my business online. And that program offers one-on-one support with coaching. And so I was able to pick a coach who really I felt got me, and I was able to identify with. She's also a mom, and she's just been really invaluable. I feel like she gets me, and I think that's one of the really important things about a coach and a coachee, is to try to find a really great fit. And so that was how I came about the coach that helps me with my business.
Fantastic. Okay. So Amanda, where can people find you if they want to reach you, or they want to follow you, or I don't know, just know more?
Yeah, so anyone can just send me a message, a friend request on Facebook. I also have, if there are any overloaded women watching here, I have a free Facebook group. It's just I'm really passionate about it because it's a community of really amazing women that I know from my own training group, from various areas of my life that I brought together. It's called the Mental Deload Zone. I think Melanie has the link there. We can definitely post if you'd like to join that group. Just if you're looking for any support from other women who are just incredibly, incredibly kind and funny and will get if you're an overloaded person. Not everyone has children, so a significant amount of women in the group do have kids and some don't. So very inclusive group. I'm also on Instagram. I'm just kind of dabbling and starting there. I'm not an Instagram pro like Melanie here, but I have started to post some content there as well.
Okay, awesome. So you can, and so I'll put that into the Facebook group afterwards, and I'll make sure that it's posted on our website too. So Amanda, I'm just going to open it up, last call for any questions if you have any. I'm going to check my DMs one more time, make sure, because sometimes I get a little sneaky one in the end. Okay, we're good, I think. Okay. So, all right, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Amanda. This is really fun. And yeah, I'm just really grateful to have had you on here. And for anybody who is looking for career support or looking to change careers, we have a course opening up very soon. It just opened today called Ready for Change. And it is kind of it's a group coaching and then also video-based program. So very welcome to check that out. And I'll put that into the chat as well. And we're going to be giving away a place at that in 2 weeks time at our next event. So make sure you come to that. So have a wonderful evening, everyone. And Amanda, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my story and connect with some other members of our veterinary community. I'm kind of missing some of that in the pandemic. So this has been really great for me as well. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Bye, everyone.